All right, y'all, let's talk about tragedy and our faith in the middle of tragedy. So this video was reposted by somebody that I follow on TikTok, and I just feel led to watch it. I don't know what it is. I just feel a tug on my spirit to watch it. I don't know where this video is going to go, but let's just check it out and see where the spirit leads us, you know? Let's go.
There's something I want to say that I don't think would actually be helpful for people, but I would say to you all. I'm pretty convinced when like tragedy strikes, what our faith is in is revealed. So if our faith is in a God who gives us a comfortable life, and then tragedy strikes, that comes to the surface that, oh, what I wanted or expected or hoped, or we don't even understand the motive of faith, and oftentimes that's revealed when tragedy strikes. Because you realize, oh man, I had faith in a God, not who I trusted as good. I had faith in a God who would make my life easier and better. And when the tragedy strikes and that doesn't feel like it's true anymore, then I abandon that faith, which I'd actually respond with good, because it wasn't faith in the living, good, kind, ruling, reigning, grieving God who is. Because that's what I found in my grief, is that when I'm willing to open my heart to what's actually in there, whether it be anger, grief, specifically at the loss of Randy, God's heart is there too. My brother-in-law made a great comment at one point. He's like, just really early on, he just said, God hates death. Like, heaven, there will be no death. He hates it. So when I allow myself to hate it, when I allow myself to hate what he hates, is that I find God there because he hates it too. So if only I'd be willing to open up my heart more often. In fact, I feel kind of funny getting to a place with moments like this to be like, I want to woo people to grieve, because what you'll find is more of God's heart, because he's grieving about a lot of those things too. He's grieving about what happened to people when they were younger. He's grieving about the trials that we face. He's grieving death. He's grieving loss. He's grieving unfairness. He too hates it. And one day, this is the hope, and why I think we can grieve with hope is because it won't always be this way. And one day everything will be made right. And I so hope for that I'm willing to shout out crazy things to God, like, how long, so I can say that, I can say, how long will it feel this, how long will it feel impossible, how long, I can shout timing, like how long with anger, I can shout it with whatever's actually inside my heart toward God, because I have faith that it won't be for forever, so he's okay with that question. Almost feels like a backwards way of trusting God. I thought in order to trust God, you had to like get to a place of like, I trust you. And now I'm realizing the way to trust is the way of honesty. So even if it meant, God, I don't see your goodness. God, I'm so angry. It's weird to go back to that time. I'm so angry. There's so much anger in me, and so much sadness, and so much grief, that I don't even have words to pray. All I have is like guttural sounds coming out and yelling. Like that's what I had, but that was honest. So in that moment, that looked more like trust than me pretending to be somewhere else. So the way of trust is the way of honesty.
That's good. The way of trust is a way of honesty. I think sometimes I don't even realize all of the things that I'm grieving, God is also grieving. And then some. I feel like sometimes I feel so like isolated. Like my problems are only my problems, but not understanding that God is in the midst of that as well. If God is truly a good father, and what does the Bible say? The Bible says something like, you know, if our earthly parents know how to give good gifts, how much more do you think our Father in heaven knows how to give good gifts? How much more do you think that our Father in heaven knows what we're going through, what we need, what we want, what our hearts desire? And I feel like sometimes I feel so isolated. And I think I do it to myself. I isolate myself in my pain as opposed to just being honest with God and just telling God, hey, this is where I'm at. And I still fall into this trap of feeling like I have to clean myself up before I talk to God. And this has been something that's been plaguing me since the very beginning of my relationship with God. I always felt like I had to come perfect to God But that's such an unrealistic thing for me to even expect of myself. And God's not even expecting that. But I place that upon myself. And sometimes that prevents me from going to God with everything, with full honesty, just like she was saying. The way of trust is a way of honesty. If you don't trust somebody, you're probably not going to open up to that person. Just think about it in our day-to-day lives. If you don't trust somebody, what benefit is it to you to open up to that person when you don't know what they're going to do with that information? They may weaponize that information and use it against you to make you feel even worse. They may use that information to manipulate you into doing something that you don't want to do. They might use that information and just share it with people that you don't want all your business out in the streets. If you don't trust somebody, you're not going to be honest with them. So if we're not being completely honest in our relationship with God and telling him everything, then we got to ask ourselves, do we truly trust God? I know overall, if I just ask the question to myself and to everybody watching, do you trust God? I think the overall consensus would be yes. But in this specific season of your life, in this specific season that you are going through, whatever you're going through, where is your trust level at? And it's also interesting because, God already knows everything that we're thinking. So sometimes I feel like I don't want to share this with God as if he doesn't already know it. As if he doesn't already know what the future holds or what's in my heart, what's in my thoughts, what I'm battling. So why not just share it so that we can get that off of our plates and allow God to deal with it? I think some of us are just addicted to holding on to pain. It's like some of us, we have pride in holding on to our struggle. I feel like sometimes for me, I feel like if I release that struggle to God, then that makes me seem weak. But I think the thing is, I am weak. But that's okay because God is strong. So we don't have to hold on to this pain and we don't have to hold on to this struggle. And something else she said, God hates death. I never thought about that until right now. God sent his only son, perfect, righteous, down to earth to be a part of creation. Could you imagine creating something? This is going to be a weird example, but this Apple Pencil. Could you imagine creating this Apple Pencil and then you becoming an Apple Pencil in order to save all the Apple Pencils? That was a horrible analogy, but it's just so silly and it's so crazy and it's so mind-blowing that God became the creation that he created in order to save it, and then was killed by that same very creation that he created in the most gruesome and embarrassing and shameful way possible, but still through that brought life. Still through all that quote unquote negativity was the ultimate positive to ever happen in the entire universe. God hates death. He sent his only son to defeat death. That's how much he hated it. There's no death in heaven. It's just life. Life more abundantly, above anything that we could ever think or ask or imagine. All of this hardship, all of this trouble, everything that we're seeing, I see some crazy stories every single day. And it's it just gets crazier and more traumatic, more devastating. It's like there's no limit to the wickedness on this earth, but it was never supposed to be like that. And we can't blame God for that because that's our own decision making, you know? But yeah, the way of trust is a way of honesty. I never really even thought about it like that. That was a beautiful word. Let me know what y'all think. I think her name is Megan Fate Marshman. Um, that was a beautiful word. You know, shout out to Megan. Let me know what y'all think. Get in my comments, like this video. I'm out, y'all.